build this thing. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
I hear you.
Who do you think I am?
Everything I've ever thought of you.
Here we go. Two-quart canteen. I don't think we've built one since we've been in Tennessee, which means we have not built one in 18 years. We made these with 40 mic on the face. We made these with smoke grenades on the face. We made these with flat utility pocket. I have the patterns. I did not have a cut list, which makes me, I suspect we don't have a cut list because we haven't built them the entire time we've been in Tennessee. So I have built a couple of these in the last few days. We're about to put these back on the website. I don't think you can even view them on the website currently. And I'm going to build one right here and show you how we build them. I actually had to change the patterns a little bit. I actually made them smaller and added a couple of other features to it. There's scuba webbing around the inside here to hold shape. There's scuba webbing here so that when you close this lid, it pulls across the whole edge of this, the whole lip here. And then ours never had the shoulder strap attachments, which I have added to this so that bushcrafters and such can use it if they wish to. And I forgot when I was building it to put the utility pocket on there. So this one we're going to actually put a flat utility pocket. And then I was playing with the idea of, do we want that utility pocket to have its own lid, or do we want to just run that utility pocket higher so that this lid conceals it and covers it? So that's how we're going to build it. And when you build yours, you can do whatever you want with yours. Now these, when we built these, we actually gave you a left and right. So you could have your nozzles facing, your lids facing forwards, or you could have them all facing backwards equally. So that you don't, like this is just a knob here catching brush and such if you're, breaking through brush and whatever. So here we go, we will build this. I also changed a few things in that it used to just have inside seams. We would sew it and then fold it inside out. I actually seamed this one to the outside, folded it down and top stitched it, which makes it very clean. So we'll see. If you have a lightweight machine, you might have a problem with some of these things. You build yours however you need yours to be built. I also changed it so there's no edge tape here. There's edge tape around the lid, but there is no edge tape on these across here. And I'll show you. Instead of cutting these panels, normally we would just sew this across the top and edge tape it, but what I'm going to do here is conceal these right here. Also, this would have been two pieces instead of one. It would have been two pieces, half the width. But what I'm going to do here is fold this in half now, thus double layering it and giving you one side that has a no seam. It's just very clean. It's a fold. And you'll see in a few minutes why I did that. It gives you less bulk also. This is the lid. The lid is what will dictate whether it is left or right, how you fold your lid once it's all together. You could also take your scuba webbing and put it inside if you wanted to. I didn't. It was simpler to do it this way if you made this as one piece. But because this is two pieces, you're going to have to edge tape it anyways. So there's no benefit to putting the scuba webbing on the inside, except it makes your build a little more difficult, I think. You actually show these full speed, right? You don't slow these down.
I try to slow them down to about 90%.
But in all seriousness, though, you don't slow it down, no. Right?
Everything is full speed.
thread. Just changed color. That's why there wasn't a bobbin on there winding. I already have one wound. I had black on the machine from last night and we just rolled it out here. Now while I'm starting this, I'll hold this tail here. I think. It's already tangled up. There we go. And there, I just pulled the tail off. Now the bobbin's winding without having to address it or deal with it. Patterns cut the wrong direction. I hear people say that. If you look at big companies, their camo patterns are all over the place because they're laser cutting all their stuff. And I used to be like, oh, that camo pattern's the wrong direction. And yeah, it is. But what happens if you lay down? I guess you do see horizontal patterns in nature because most stuff is vertical. So if anything, our patterns should be the wrong direction, I guess. So this is going to make that front pocket I was talking about. I'm just going to put this, no, I'm not going to put this here. This is not going to work how I thought this was going to work because of the way I made this scuba webbing inside here once these seams are on. So I don't have a way to do this pocket. All right, we're going to build this without this pocket on this one, which will make this build a lot faster, I suppose. So this is the face, this is the clean folded side, this is the two raw edges. I'm going to go ahead and put this right here. This is a clean folded side, this is doubled in there, so that's clean. Oh, motherfucker. That is way too long. All right, we're just going to fold this inside for right now. I'm going to go ahead and tack this one down right here. You guys, you won't have this bulk right here. Okay, now that's folded down, so on that side there'll be that extra little bulk there. If I didn't show you, you would probably never know that it was even there. Won't affect the build. You could totally take this apart, cut it shorter, fold those back in, or if you're running and you end up with too much, you could do what I just did and just fold that over. And I folded it to the wrong side because we're going to sew it the opposite direction. You're just going to have it on this one, okay. This will be the upside down plane, airplane stamp. Have that weird thing to it. It'll be worth way more money. We're going to give this away also in the July 31st giveaway. So there it is, sewn basically back to back. All right, so what I'm going to do here is top stitch this, and basically I have this hem here, and I'm just going to pull this over, and so actually I want to bring this in just a little bit more. Bring that whole line in so I've got more meat when I fold this over. I know it looks like I'm sewing the same line. I'm actually just a hair inside so that there is more material here. Now I'm going to take this and fold this over, and it just pulled my thread back there. That tensioner's not working. That tension release isn't working as well as it should. See where I folded that under, there's actually more material there. It's very bulky and it's not wanting to turn, but there we go, we got it up there. All right, there we go. So there's your fold over there, super clean on the outside. Now I'm going to take this piece of scuba webbing, which will make this rigid. I think I have this a little long, but I want about a little more than a 1/4 inch right there. The closer to the edge it is, the tighter and more formed your pouch will be, but it's also a little more difficult when it's closer to the edge. You have a little less meat to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and chop some of that off of there. Also keep in mind that extra that I sewed over there. So scuba webbing is best cut on a hot knife. You can hit it with a soldering iron, preferably like a Weller soldering gun with a flat blade on it. But you can use a soldering iron if that's what you got. You can also use this lighter like you just saw me do. And just run right across it with the edge. Gives you a nice scabbed up, sealed edge. Torch works real well too. When we used to scissor cut this webbing, run it over a torch, and then we would literally use the edge of a lighter and just run across it to sear it. People get so stuck nowadays on building stuff. You might have all your materials and everything, but you don't have the money for a hot knife, so you're not building anything because you don't have a hot knife to make a clean edge when there's a million ways to do it. So don't let anything stop you. You can always make your build process simpler, but you'll be a better craftsman if you do it the difficult way and learn how to, make do. And for a decade, we built these things without this rigid piece inside here. So there's that. There's the front. That's the back, actually. We'll go ahead and we'll put this on here. On the back, I need, well, I don't know how much I need. From the edge, I'm 1.5 inches. Apparently I need 1.5 inches. If you get a ruler or guide or whatever, build what you want. This is actually 1.5. If I come right to there and set this right on this edge, it spaces me perfectly for PALS webbing. So you don't have to make all of your measurements. If you're doing things over repetitively over and over and over, just make you a guide. Get you some rigid plastic or something, or even a piece of webbing that's 1.5 inches wide, and use that. Ooh, something's going on. I don't know what I have going on here. I'm a little low for some reason. I'm gonna raise this up a 1/2 inch. Now this here, I'm not gonna bother cutting all this thread out because I'm gonna edge tape it, so it's gonna be concealed a 1/2 inch inside. So I'm not too concerned with the thread there. And I didn't remark that, I just came up halfway. You can see that the webbing sits on that line. I just came up halfway on it. So that's what that was. And I am so out of organization here. I don't know where, here they are. When I sew out here, this is not where I normally sew. So when it looks like I have no idea what's going on, that's literally because I have no idea what's going on out here. None of my shit is where it normally is. It would help if we turn on, yeah, it would help if we turn on some lights. I have so much light, when I put a lot of light on and it causes a shadow, I put another light to eliminate the shadow. Where I sew out there, like no bullshit, when you sit at my sew station, I have so much light that it's 10 degrees hotter. Yeah, when you walk in, there's a bubble of heat right there. If you're ever doing PALS like this, and you're doing a lot of it, you will see people will sew one direction, turn the work, and then sew the other direction. What you end up with is your PALS shifts because you're pulling. So if you sew every other one and then come back, ideally don't rotate the work so it's all traveling in the same direction. Otherwise you'll get that wave in there if you're not careful. But you'll do it your first time and you might not understand what I'm talking about, but once you've seen it, you will completely know what I'm talking about. I make these long on purpose, then we just cut those off. I'm gonna burn these edges. You don't need to. We're gonna put edge tape around this. Okay. We are edge taping that, right? Yeah. Okay, here's the lid. This is what denotes whether it's going to be left or right hand. And that'll all have to do with whether you fold this side or you fold this way. That's what will dictate left or right. once you have one of these in your hands, you will completely understand it. If you're not following what I mean by that, once you build one, you'll understand it, you'll get it. Now these, you could cut these off. I'm not going to. I'm going to just take them and overlap them like that. So I'm going to bring these here, and you might be able to see some of this. You don't need to sew that bottom piece like I just did there, because we're going to edge tape that. It's going to get concealed. But you can. I spend a lot of time sewing shit that nobody's ever going to see because we're going to cover it up. Just like cutting those threads off. Now I'm going to run down and I'm going to have to cut again. I could have just left them there, but ADD maybe, I don't know. I don't have any ADD.
I think you just don't like seeing a mess.
Yeah, it's just habit, man. A lot of times because those threads will get tangled up in other things. All right.
I just assume anything you're doing, there was a reason before that you started doing it, even if you forgot.
Yeah, a lot of it is just, it's like habit, muscle memory. And there used to be a reason, and a lot of times it doesn't apply anymore. I'm just doing it out of habit. And I've just gotten better at my technique, or, changed things. Okay, so if you had built this the wrong way, like if you needed this to be the other side, you could totally fix that by just flipping it. But if you flip it, it puts these outside. Doesn't matter unless most of your clients would never know it, but you'll know it. So just sew it right the first time, or opposite this if you need to. I'm going to go ahead and put this on here. I think I'm going to anyways. You're not going to be able to see it. I have to sew it from right here first. I want this nice and tight up against that seam, so I'm going to go ahead and push this in here, get this tacked, just a needle strike in there, and then I'm going to shift it so that it's even. Here's those tails cutting them off again. Out of thread. I thought I heard it out of thread. Maybe you guys could hear it when it changed a little bit, changed the pitch. Hold that tail on that bobbin right here. There it is, just ripped off. Now I don't have to fight that. If you leave that tail on there and you don't pull it off, eventually it'll suck back inside and get wound up in there. Not a problem until you're halfway through that bobbin, and then your machine tries to pick it up and it, rat nests your bobbin out. Same with these, burning these off. I'm going to edge tape these. You're never going to see them.
One of my favorite things you say all the time is not a problem until it's a problem.
For real, yeah, that's very real. If you have a good attorney, he should tell you that. It's never a problem until it's a problem. Just because you got away with it this long.
How much is that edge taper?
The machine, this piece. Mm-hmm. This is a trashy one, just off Amazon. It's like 35 bucks. If you're learning to edge tape, you can get this, but If you buy a really good edge taper, like from Tennessee Attachments, you're going to learn it's going to be better. It's going to be more forgiving. Especially if you're putting on like printed edge tape, like Multicam brand edge tape. It tends to be soft. It's not as good an edge tape as some of the solid colors seem to be. And then do you want to tape from the inside or the outside? I edge tape pretty good, so it doesn't matter, but it might for you. Now when you're edge taping, I'm pushing the work in to the bite, you know, the bite right where it folds. And then I'm also pulling on the work a little. I'm applying some tension to the work. You can also apply tension to the edge tape, like when you're going around this radius here. If you apply a little tension to the edge tape, it will pull the work, it'll lay it a little flatter. It'll tend also to stay more even. So yeah, just move my taper. A lot of guys will put 2 screws on that edge taper. You can also just crank down on it with a stubby screwdriver or a really long screwdriver. Be aware, this old machine here, this Consew, well actually it does. It has a disc in there. So if I booger that up, I can take that disc out and put a new threaded piece. Some of these older machines are threaded into the deck. So if you blow that out, you have to re-tap it for a bigger screw. Now when I'm coming to make this turn, I'm just taking a couple bites at a time. You can lift the foot, rotate your work. I'm also applying tension to the edge tape. I'm putting drag on it. That'll just help it make that turn a little more. I'm rotating, I'm folding this here so I can see kind of where the turn starts to turn the opposite direction to the inside instead of the outside. And then here, I'm just going to run out, just like that. I'm going to go ahead and put this other piece of tape on this other piece. And then we'll look at which way we want to. Are we going to run this to the outside because we're going to conceal it, or are we going to run it to the inside? We'll see in a minute. This is clean. This was a long, instead of 2 separates, we made them back to back and just folded them. So the bite's right here clean. So I'm just going to run this edge tape an inch or so. And then let me show you what this looks like when I'm really sewing for real. I'm going to apply drag back here when I come around this curve. That's what real edge tape looks like when I do it for real. That's not sped up or anything. That's just actual speed. So there that is. Also be aware your Multicam brand edge tape is branded only on one side. Does that matter to you? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Maybe your client, depending who that is. A lot of your guys' clients nowadays, it's not all meat eaters anymore, man. Some guys want to see that branding. So I'm going to take this and conceal this to the inside, just like so. And I'm going to go ahead and tack this. But I actually want to run it from this side, so I'm going to go ahead and tack it this way. And the reason I'm doing this is because we've tacked the edge of this pals here in, and then we've concealed it. But if we run this down just straight, they run the risk of that single line of stitching pulling out when they actually are using this pals webbing. So I want to tack it in there. Now, if they bust that, it's not going to affect the integrity other than that stitch line, but if your customer sees that, it's probably a warranty issue. They'll want you to repair it. So if you just tack that in there, back, forward, backwards, forward, it negates that. You don't have to have that conversation with a customer. You don't have to have hands on that piece of gear again. Your other option is just to go 1.5 inch and put another stitch line, but then you have that stitch line and you have this little itty bitty, it just doesn't look correct. But then again, if you're building gear for meat eaters, it doesn't matter, or for yourself. I don't think there's any vegan tactical people. By meat eater.
I was about to say, I guarantee you there's some Instagram.
By meat eater, we don't actually mean just a person that eats meat. I know there's some dipshit somewhere that's taking issue, because there's always a dipshit. I don't know why I blow on that either. I do that all the time. Part of the show. I think I just came off and missed it right there. Oh, no, I didn't.
It's like you've done it before.
I mean, I'm pretty much the best.
Has that ever been questioned?
See, but that's, so it didn't quite catch it on the other side. So I'm gonna go ahead and run a third line. I still didn't catch it. What the fuck is going on here? I guess I did. It's just for fun. Aight. Now these are going to be the little pieces where you can attach it's called a split ring. You guys know it as a key ring or a grenade pin ring, the pull ring. You can put that on here. And then you can use webbing and some plastic hardware to make a shoulder strap, or you can fabricate or put a actual shoulder strap on there. You can also do a few things here. You can butt this webbing up and then tack it in really well and come around and sew it, or you can fold over so that it's 3 layers at that edge and sew it in that manner. You do it however you want to do it, and you have whatever your reasoning for that is, you do that. I'm going to butt this in flat. I'm going to tack this really well here, and even if I left this raw, we're still good, but I'm going to go ahead and sew this around here and clean it up. And if you're really uncomfortable about it, you could even put another line of tack in here. For all those dudes that tell you, yeah, I'm really hard on gear, nothing lasts. You'll always have some customer, like you'll build gear for 50 years and have no warranty issues, and there'll be some dipshit somewhere that his mission is to make your shit fail. So just imagine how his car looks. If you tell somebody that something can't be broken, they'll figure out a way to break it. We saw that with Strider, man. Lifetime warranty, right? That's ours. Lifetime warranty that you'll never have to use. So guys were taking Strider knives and putting them in a vise and then smacking them with a sledgehammer to get them to break. And then they'd want you to warranty it.
Ever had somebody take in your bag and just cut it or something?
Not so blatantly. We had a dude that tried to say we shipped him a belt that had a cut in it, and he had used a box cutter to open the UPS, the USPS box,
Accidentally hit it.
and he cut. And when we got it back, it was through the 2 layers of 1.5-inch scuba webbing. He'd cut over half of it, and tried to say that we shipped it to him. Like, he was really shitty just from the very beginning.
There's stuff like one of those like this long down in it.
Yeah, I'm sure he used, like, one of like that. I mean, it was cut almost, like an inch worth. It was just hanging on. There's a video on YouTube of it. So these here, I usually just take these and bite them. You can use. We have that in our spent mag pouches, our dump pouches too. And then you can pinch them. You can use vice grips, pliers. They make a pair of vice grips that have just 2 flat pieces of stock for holding metal together when you're welding and such. You can use whatever you want. I use my teeth. It's faster than grabbing another thing. So there's that. There's the back. There's the lid. We're going to tack this lid right here. And I think I'm going to run it. I know I want this here, which kind of is in the way. You'll see in a minute of what it's in the way of. But I'm going to tack this here because I know I want this right here. And then I'm going to turn around, come back, and catch the other side of it and keep it in the level and straight and even. And then I'm going to come up a couple stitches to the other edge, to the edge of the edge tape. And that puts that lid on there with 2 lines, and it's tacked. You can sew 3 lines, 4 lines, whatever. If you're the 5-line stitching guy, you can do that. So I have this, and then I have this, and I have this, and that's kind of going to be in the way when I put this on, but I'm going to sew it to there, and then I'm going to move this out and then just tack that piece in. So you'll see in a second here what I'm talking about. So here, and I am going to run into an issue here with all this bulk. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 12 layers of material right here I've got to sew through. I think it's 12. And remember, I started with 2, but with the way it's folded, and then that mistake right there is very bulky. And what's happening is, this is actually the 3rd 2-quart pouch I've built in, I don't know, 15, 20 years. So I don't have my math. I'm kind of going off memory from the other 2 I built yesterday and day before. So I'll go and actually build one tonight, finalize my math, correct my patterns, and then we will build these. By the time you guys see this video, we will have 2 quarts on the website available. There's guys setting up, land warfare rigs and stuff that for years, everything's been very small, scalable, go fast, body armor kind of stuff. But we do see an influx of people asking for LBVs and heavier suspenders and green side and patrolling type rigs. And that's really where these canteens come into play, the heavier type rigs and stuff. So these will be on there. And you can always use these to carry magazines and other stuff also. So you could use them. The other thing you can do with them is use them as utility pockets. Carry empty 2 quarts in your pack, run off your hydro carrier, and then you have a couple of bladders should you need them, whether they be 1 quarts or 2 quarts. So you can use them to carry just ponchos or, you know, wet weather gear or whatever, and then when you need them or you need more water, you can fill those and then use those pouches where you were running lighter earlier. What do I mean, what do I know though? So you guys,
I think you would know.
you COD guys, you do whatever,
The COD guys.
whatever video game doctrine is for all you 7 mag guys. The latest one is you can't go prone. You can't go prone.
You can't go wrong, baby.
It's not even, yeah, it's other gear makers that they're saying it to. So I'm glad to see I'm not the only one. You should always look too, the guy's giving you all the, like trying to give you grief and shit. Always ask them for an order number because amazingly they never have an order number. So I just sewed this together and completely forgot to put the pull tab on here. So we're going to now open this up. Now I've only single lined it. I've tacked it at the top and the bottom, but there's only a single line of stitching. So not a big deal. Wouldn't be a big deal if there was. Just get in here between there, get that first stitch. You'll get a couple of them. Pull it open. And you can pull it out, and that's not really the thread ripping, that's just pulling those last few closest out. And then just be aware of where your edge tape is. Also, right here, this is what's going to put you out of commission. When this slips through here and bites into your thumb, you might not have to have sutures, but you will bleed. And when you start working there, you'll bleed, and then you'll have blood on your product. So just be cognizant of that. This here acts as a third hand. You can clamp things down, and if the clamp downward pressure doesn't quite hold, you can needle strike it, put a needle through there, and then you have both hands to work with while that holds it in place. So you can grab one side, pull on the other, and opposite pull, and then I will expose those threads and nick a couple of exposed threads, and then you don't run the risk of cutting the material. Most sutures in my hand have come from cutting other gear apart where guys wanted it modified right. If you're building gear, you don't have time to modify other people's mistakes or misdesigned concepts. If they're coming to you wanting you to modify gear they already have, they should just pay you your price for your stuff, because if I modify some other bullshit, I'm going to charge you way more than you could just buy. And that's why they do it, because they want to save a few pennies here or there. Don't set that precedence. You can never get that time back, and it will always be frustrating. I'm going to open it a little more rather than fight with that. So here's what I'm talking about. There's the foot. Here I'm pulling on the gear. One stitch, right? And it doesn't rip that thread. It just pulls it out. You can see that it is right here. See? It's all intact. There's the thread. And then the other piece of it, well, I don't know where the other piece is, but that's not the thread failing, it's pulling it out. So the thread's pretty strong. If you could stand to hold a single piece of this thread, I have no doubt that we could kill you with a single piece of thread. If you had because it would cut you too, but if you had some way to hold it, wrap it around your hands a few times with some gloves, I'll bet you could end a man with just one strand of thread. Maybe not. You make that YouTube video, and
I was gonna say, we should try cutting through a watermelon.
once you have the answer, you let me know. It's the new garrote. I sew all my pants with a line of thread all the way up in case I'm ever in captive and I need to unthread that and have that piece of thread. Juno.
Juno. Juno.
You don't know? Now this here, I'm just sewing right here. It's a good place that it works right here. You could sew it on the side instead and kick in at an angle. You play with it, do whatever you want to do. A lot of guys will do something different than everybody else just so that it doesn't look like they copied somebody else's shit. Now, this is a 2-quart canteen that has been in the military system for longer than you've been alive, so whose shit are you really copying at this point? You know, I wouldn't trip on that. Don't worry about copying my fucking 2-quart canteen. You do whatever you want to do. But there'll always be a turd there to tell you you copied something. I'm sure he's over on Toyota's website or Instagram or Facebook page telling them they copied the Nissan. Man, I remember before it was Nissan, it was Datsun.
Old Datsun trucks.
Yeah,
Datsun.
and the Datsun 210, I think they had a 410. My mom had a station wagon, a Datsun station wagon. Ugly baby blue one, 4-door. It's not feeding that way. It's that extra bulk
It's like 12 layers. of
causing me issues, yeah. Go slow. You can make a machine do something it shouldn't do. Like some people. Somebody got their moms to do something she shouldn't have done, and then they ended up here. Don't suck your tongue at me, man. Oh, man. Do you see the issue here?
Put the strap on the wrong side.
You put the strap on the wrong side.
I put the strap on the wrong side.
Man, oh man. Okay. Well, you guys probably need to see this. If you're watching this, you're probably starting to sew. There's a lot of times where you get in a hurry and you're frustrated, especially cutting things apart. Go slow when you cut things apart. This is that 3rd foot right here, right? Just nicking those threads, pull it, expose them. You could easily rip through here and cut this. Not a big deal, because you're just taking this off of there, right? But if you cut that Cordura, that would be a bigger deal. Now you have a hole in there, right? So there's those lines of stitching. Do you need to pull this out of there? Probably not. You probably wouldn't even see it from the other side, but there it is. Now, by we I mean me, we'll open this up here. Be careful here. You can easily cut through one layer of this Cordura here because it's not folded over. Like the other side is more layers, but this side is just a clean fold on that Cordura where we folded it. And we did that on purpose. Instead of folding this over and making it 4 layers thick, we did it because it makes it easier and cleaner when you put it together. It sits a lot cleaner too. Go ahead and open this a little more. Now, if this is your product, like you're building this for yourself, you don't care about this extra thread. Nobody's ever gonna, you're not gonna care. But if you're building this for someone, you wanna pull that out of there because eventually it'll come out and they'll see a stitch come undone and they'll think that their product is failing. And again, they will want to warranty, they will want you to warranty it. So just get a hold of a stitch or two, pull that out of there, there it goes. That's probably the biggest thing, is just seeing how you cut this stuff apart. And you have companies too that use adhesive, so when you go to modify existing gear, even though you cut the stitch out, there's glue and such in there, so when you go to sew it back, you've got that glue on your machine and stuff. Companies do weird shit. We've seen companies that were like stapling, because they wanted to hire a bunch of wounded veterans and stuff, and rehabilitated people. So they had guys gluing and hot gluing and doing all kinds of shit, kind of arts and crafts, pre-assemble it, and then they'd take it and put it on a tacker or a sewing machine. And I guess that if you pre-assemble it glued or stapled together, then you could just put it on a machine that's just a button pusher, a programmable tacker. Then you don't have to actually have as much skilled labor, somebody that could sew. We had a girl that just couldn't sew straight, so I would take a bunch of stuff. After everybody left, I'd take a couple hundred combat cocks and staple the Velcro in place. And finally she's like, you don't have to put these staples in here. And she didn't realize, like, I was doing it because she couldn't fucking sew the Velcro straight.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, unfortunately I do. Also, if you think you might ever have to cut the gear apart, right here is 2 layers of material, but where I cut this off, that other stitch line was actually through a single layer. So when I was cutting it, I actually, can you zoom in right here? I actually nicked that webbing right there. See it?
Yep.
So be advised, be aware when you're doing that. If you're sewing, maybe you want to fold under, instead of like a 1/2 inch, fold it 1 inch under so you're through both layers. It's easier if you ever have to take it apart too. Like, we build stuff in a manner that it's never going to fail. So a lot of stuff, it's built in a manner that once they damage it, we literally just cannot fix it. If they damage it, And if they damage it, it's going to take fire or massive abrasion from a vehicle or gunshot, bullet holes. We had a dude on live feed. He's like, hey man, one of your zippers failed. And I said, our zippers don't fail. Something happened to that, and I'm sure you know. And he's like, yeah, I didn't, that's not what I meant. I don't remember what it was. He's like, we've heard dudes like, hey man, your buckle failed. I'm like, the buckle doesn't fail. Like, it got slammed in a car door or a tailgate. So like, what happened? He's like, yep, it was a tailgate.
So they were trying to say I failed. Is there any way I can get a new buckle put on this?
I don't know. You never know what the game is. You never know what the deal is.
I would just be honest, and I would say, hey man, I slammed this into the...
Yeah, we'll fix it. We'll fix it. Just send it back here. But your gear failed. That's not our gear failed. Yeah. You damaged it.
Or guess what? If you break something on your own, one, just buy a new one.
Well, some stuff, yeah. I mean, like our single point sling, you know, we put, it's tubular nylon, and we take and put the buckle in the middle. Then we put the bungee cord down, and our bungee cord is one long piece folded in half. And then when it's sewn, it makes it two individual pieces. So if somehow, and we've never seen it happen, but if it failed, you still had a single layer of bungee in there. But once that's in there, and it's sewn inside, and then it's folded out, and it's made into a hoop, if you break the buckle, we can't replace it. There's no way to, because it won't come off. And like if you break it, we could break it off, but I can't slide one on because it won't slide on because the bungee inside the tubular is sewn in place. So you would have to kind of, you know, rig something up at that point. Okay, now it's the right direction. We'll go ahead and put another line of stitching in this. I'm going slow because it's very bulky with all that scuba webbing I've put in there. Now I'm out of the bulk. We'll go ahead and run. Now I'm coming back in to where it's thick, approaching that extra fold over piece I made. Go ahead and clean it up while I'm here. We're going to put the canteen in and it won't fit because I've completely fucked up my patterns. Now, if you put this in place and you don't really like where it's sitting, the easy fix would be you could just move your buckle down. I think I had it right about here. It's going to work either way. It's just how much adjustment do you want it to have, and do you foresee using this for something other than a 2-quart canteen in the future? Going backwards through there. It kind of made a weird sound. It has busted one of the strands in the thread, so I'm going to go ahead and terminate that right there. And instead of zigzagging over, I am going to just put another separate line of stitching in there. The scuba webbing, at least this scuba webbing, has quite a bit of resin in there. It kind of makes it almost like it's sharp. Same with sewing through hook Velcro. When you sew through hook Velcro, a lot of times your tension will do weird shit because it's kind of spongy, and the hooks will catch one of the strands in your thread and snag it. Okay, so there's that. Here is the buckle. You can see where it kind of untensioned, made a little rat nest right there out of that excess piece that it snagged. There it is. Cleaned up a little. And I guess,
Go ahead.
huh?
The moment of truth.
Yeah, the moment of truth. Yeah, it fits. Got a little extra play in here even. You could put something else in here with this if you wanted to. There you go. This is bothering me a lot. There we go. So it holds its shape because of the scuba webbing in there. And because of this scuba webbing across, it makes this pull pretty even, and it kind of locks that. It doesn't flop off, and it allows you to use one point that's not centered. And that's it. You could easily make this to where the canteen was a little more exposed and you didn't have these flaps on here, but you could build a generic type pouch that would work for a lot of other things in addition to the canteen. But this way, the way this is built, you kind of need a left and a right. So there it is. Now you build yours and you tag us in it and we'll check it out. Any questions you have, leave some comments. By the time you see this video, you will probably be able to purchase these on the website at soetacticalgear.com.
Also, July 31st. Gotta go to Patreon.
July 31st, we've got a bunch of gear we're giving away. Everything I've built on these videos to one lucky winner, and you register at patreon.com, and it's $5.
Link will be in the description.
Link will be in the description. That's it.